Hello, my name is Terry White, Worldwide Design Evangelist for Adobe Systems, and it's my pleasure to take you through the brand new Illustrator CS5. So one of the first things you'll notice is that I have a document up, and this document looks very rich. It looks very three-dimensional and has lots of depth and color to it and pop. However, there's nothing 3D about it. This is simply drawn in perspective. So if you were an artist and you were drawing a wall that had to go into the building, you would actually start drawing your lines to go that way. However, that's the way an artist thinks. I don't necessarily think that way because I'm not really an artist. So I need something that's going to help me draw like this. So in this case, I'm just going to go up to the File menu and choose New Document. And we'll just create a standard new print document. And now I'm going to introduce you to the brand new perspective drawing tools. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull off the perspective tools here. And with a single click of the perspective grid tool, that will put a brand new perspective grid on the page. Now, by default, it does a 2-point perspective. We can go up to the View menu. We can choose a 1-point perspective. We can also choose a 3-point perspective. And that will be just varying the vanishing point in the direction in which things will go. So I'm going to go back to the 2-point perspective, and actually I'm going to go to one that I saved earlier as a preset, so you can actually make your own so that you don't have to start over every single time. Now I'm just going to pull the plane down here just a moment, and we'll just go ahead and extend this out just a bit, and we've got it ready to go. All right, so the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and start to draw on this to show how this works. I'm just going to switch over to the standard star tool that's been around for years and years. We'll say that it has no stroke, and we'll give it a fill color. We can pick any color we want. Now that we have this color, we can actually start to use the tool in perspective. So if I switch to the right panel, it will actually allow me to draw that in perspective. Now, that meant that it's not doing anything in 3D. It's just simply distorting the object the way you would have drawn it to begin with if you had to do it by hand. And it's even smart enough that if I grab the perspective move tool, that if I move it out in perspective, it gets smaller. If I move it closer to me, it gets bigger. So I know the first thing that people usually want to know at this point is, can I have it wrap around? Can I have it flip over? Well, you can't have it wrap around, but you can certainly get it on the other panel by using keyboard shortcuts. So as I move it, if I hit the number 1, that means switch it over to the first panel, and now it's moving on that side. Great. All right, so how do I use this with 2D art that I may already have in place? So if we go over to our perspective, if we go over to one of our views here, let's go to View, actually our document views here, and we'll go to our Start document. In our Start document, I've got some windows here already selected. Actually in place, I'll just copy one of those windows, and we'll go ahead now and switch back to our untitled document so that we can go ahead and paste that in. Now I'm going to deselect the panel here by just clicking in the gray area of the widget, and we'll go ahead and paste that in place. Now that it's pasted, of course, it comes in very flat, very two-dimensional looking, just like it always would. But now, the minute I highlight a panel to use, and then switch to the perspective move tool, it will now interact with that window in perspective. So even though I didn't draw it on the grid originally, I can still use the grid to keep this in perspective as I draw and duplicate this by holding down my Option or Alt and Shift keys to draw this in perspective. And again, if I hit the number 1, 2, or 3, I can go ahead and then have that flip around to the various panels of my perspective grid. So perspective grid or perspective drawing is going to be awesome in Illustrator CS5. This also works with text. It can even work with a photo if you bring that photo in and live trace it. So awesome technology. Can't wait to use it to do drawing from here on out that I was never able to do before. All right, so we'll close this document now, and we'll switch over to a different view here. We're going to now start to talk about the beautiful stroke technology inside of Illustrator CS5. So we'll switch over to this view where we have the jet leaving a stream behind it, and now we want to go ahead and make a selection of one of these paths. And this is just a single path that if we select it and we Command Y it to look at it in outline view, those are just two simple paths trailing behind the plane. But now if we switch to our new width tool, we can actually get variable width strokes just by dragging right on the path itself. Now, of course, that's giving me equal distance on both sides of that point. I can also hold down my Option or Alt key to control one side or the other. And of course, I can put as many of these width points as I want along the path, and I can make them any variable width that I want. So I can get them very skinny or very big, depending on what I need. Now, the beauty of this is once you create these, you can actually save them as a profile. So I can go ahead and say, you know what, I like the way I did that one. Go ahead and save it as a width profile. We'll call it Jetstream 2. And now that I've got it there, we'll go ahead and select the one that's on the other side that doesn't have anything applied to it. And we'll just go ahead and choose our profile. Now, when I choose this profile, it's not going to look like anything really happened because this stroke is much thinner than that one. But if we go to our stroke panel, we can actually go ahead and choose a thicker stroke to work with to get that to look the way we want it to look. So we'll choose that one, not to be as thick as the other one, but you get the idea. You can have your variable widths and apply them throughout. Now, where I really think this is going to come in handy is for people that do create artwork and the people that do draw. For example, we've got this face here. We can grab our variable width tool and we can actually create strokes that were pretty much very hard to do or required a lot of pressure sensitivity on a tablet to kind of get the kind of strokes that you were looking for. And again, you'd have to experiment a lot before to do this. Now it's easy as simply dragging a point. In this case, I'll hold down my Option or Alt key and we'll vary the width of those. So awesome technology. Can't wait to use it. All right, next, let's go ahead and switch over to this path here. We'll go ahead and switch to our selection tool. And what we want to do is we want to create an arrowhead in this case. So now that we've got our path selected, we'll go ahead and switch and make this path 20 points thick. And now in the stroke panel, we've got arrowhead options right here. So I can go ahead and say that I want an arrowhead on the end of that. Whoa, that's a big one. Let's go ahead and drop the percentage down to about 20% of that one. And now that we have it in place, a couple of cool options. We can actually flip it if we drew it on the wrong side. And we can actually even control where the arrowhead will actually end. So right now it's ending beyond the path. We can constrain the tip of the arrowhead to be the end of the path as well. So great options for people that do lots of arrows, especially in illustrations and technical manuals and drawings. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to switch over to a different view. We're going to continue to talk about strokes. And we're going to go ahead and go to the building arrow view. And now that we've got this view selected, we'll go ahead and select the arrow itself. And we're going to do a couple things. We're going to change the weight of that stroke around it. And now that we've changed the weight, we're going to give it a dash line of 5 points per dash with a 3-point gap in between them. Now, the problem in the past has always been that if we were to zoom in on this, the strokes themselves don't necessarily end on the corners because Illustrator was always being very precise. You told it 5 points, you told it 3 points apart, by golly, that's what you're going to get. Now we can actually say, you know what, I would much rather prefer the dashes aligned to the corners, even if you have to fudge the distance between them a little bit along the way, so it won't be as precise as I asked for, but it will be better looking, and that's what counts at the end of the day. All right, so we get our beautiful ending strokes or dashes around our strokes perfectly now with one click. All right, and there were people actually spending hours trying to do that manually in the past, so they will be very happy to see this kind of work inside of Illustrator. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about brushes themselves and segments in the brushes. So we're going to just go up to our View menu again. And in this case, we're going to switch over to the star view. And with this view, we're just going to go ahead and scroll some more. Oh, not that way, that way. And now we're going to bring up the brushes panel. And in the brushes panel, we're just going to go ahead and select that star. And with the star selected, we will choose one of these fancy new pattern or divided brushes. Now, of course, that brush really doesn't do much for the star. Matter of fact, it looks kind of bad. So what we're going to do is double click on it to edit the brush itself. And we get some new options here. We can stretch between guides. So we can choose what part of the brush will stretch along the path. So for example, if I say stretch between guides, now I get guides that I can actually physically pick up and move to dictate which object is actually stretched around the path as much as I can. Now the problem is the corners don't fold over properly, and we get some weird overlapping and they're caving in on themselves. Well, now let's go ahead and change a couple options here. We're going to change the width a little bit bigger, and that, of course, makes it even worse. But now with a simple click of a button, we can adjust the corners to fold to prevent overlap. So now, we get banners, we get the ribbon looks that we've been wanting all along. So great way of doing this now inside of Illustrator CS5, especially when you want to bend something around an object but have it fold and do it properly, especially for ribbons and logos. All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and switch over now to a couple more refinements. We're going to talk about some new drawing modes. So let's go ahead and go to the view menu here. We'll go to our coffee cup view. And in the coffee cup, I'm just going to go ahead and select the cup, and we have two new drawing modes. We've always had, of course, draw normal. Now we have draw behind and draw inside. So I'm going to go ahead and say draw behind, which that means that now anything I draw on that cup will actually go behind it. So we'll just go ahead and simply switch over to our ellipse tool. With the ellipse tool selected, we will actually choose a fill for that. Actually, let's go ahead and deselect. With the ellipse tool selected, we'll go ahead and grab the fill swatch there, and we'll put a nice brown in there, and we'll actually say that it has no stroke. And now that we've got our ellipse selected, we'll go ahead and now switch back to the coffee cup, select it, and again, because we're going to say draw behind, now with the ellipse tool, I can hold down my Option or Alt key, which does it from the center, and of course, I can draw the saucer for this cup to sit on. But normally I would be drawing that on top, and I'd have to do all kinds of send to back motions, but now because I said draw behind, it's automatically putting it behind the cup. Great. Now let's take it a step further. Let's go ahead and select the cup itself. And in this case, now we're going to draw in a new mode, which is draw inside. With the draw inside command, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my blob brush. And with the blob brush, I can actually go ahead and start creating strokes, and I can exaggerate and go outside, and those strokes will be constrained to the inside of the cup. Awesome to be able to do that. So let's go ahead and undo that for a moment. And let's go ahead and make a CS5. All right, you get the idea. So creating great artwork inside the object without having to do all kinds of compounding and masking to get it to look the way you want it to look. All right, so one more thing while we're on the subject of draw inside and draw behind, we'll go ahead and switch to one more different view in this document. We'll go to the taco view here, and we're going to go ahead and zoom, or not zoom, but we'll scroll over to the left a little bit here where we have a couple of objects, and these objects, if we, they look like they're closed, but actually if we hit Command Y, they are actually open. Now normally, if you want to join those together, you'd have to, have everything aligned in the space-time continuum to get them to align properly or join properly. Now if I just simply hit Command J, even if they're not touching, it will automatically do the right thing and join them together. So I'll just go ahead and move them over now where they go. It's nice that they fit perfectly in my little puzzle pieces there. And now that we have them in place, the next thing we want to do is we're going to talk about this text. So we'll go ahead and grab the type tool. We'll prove that it is live text. I'll just change that A to an O. So now we have tocos. And we'll switch it back, and then we'll select it as an object. Now once it's selected as an object, then I can switch my drawing modes, and I can actually tell it to draw inside of that text, live text. So we'll go ahead and select these tacos. We'll cut them out. We'll go ahead and switch to the taco object, and we'll just simply do a regular old paste. And that will paste them inside, but still maintain it as live text. So even if I switch this to a B now, it will go ahead and be live with our tacos inside. So undo that, we get our tacos back. Awesome drawing modes, draw inside, draw behind. All right, so next, let's go ahead and switch over to our bristle brush technology. So Photoshop got some great painting technology, so does Illustrator, but more from a vector standpoint. So we'll go to our bristle brush document, and as beautiful as this looks, it looks like it's all kind of painted effects. There's not a single pixel in this document. This is all 100% vector. So how do we get these beautiful vector illustrations and painted effects? Well, again, we use our new bristle technology. So we'll go over to one that's not quite as done yet, and we'll go ahead and switch over to our layers panel, and we'll just scroll down our layers panel and turn on our model layer. Now that we've got our model layer turned on, we'll just go ahead and we want to paint some of these new strokes inside of her dress. So we've got the dress selected, and you can see it here, and we're going to go ahead and paint inside of that. But before we do that, actually, we're going to do a draw inside. So again, it knows to draw inside, keep it within the dress. And the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and deselect that, and we'll go ahead and choose our brush tool. And we'll do the brushes panel here, and we want a new kind of brush. Well, we've had all of these in the past before, but the new one now is bristle brush. Lots of new options here. We want a round fan brush that's popular amongst painters and artists, and we'll choose a 10mm size for that brush. Now, last but not least, the brush is actually for the strokes themselves. So we'll grab our strokes, and we'll grab a nice purple color there. There we go, maybe something dark. And we've got our brush, and I'm going to, of course, switch over to my Wacom pen, and my Wacom pen interacts with this tool. So as I tilt my pen, my brush tilts as well. And we can, of course, increase the size of that, and we can just start now painting with these beautiful strokes. And again, because I said draw inside, I don't have to worry about staying within the lines. It will do all of this wonderful work for me. I can go ahead and switch colors, and I can actually pretend, just for a moment here, I'm an artist, which we know I'm not, if you've seen my work in the past. However, beautiful strokes, unbelievable technology inside of this, and this is all still vector. So if I hit my Command Y, those are just paths I drew. I can go in and affect those paths, delete those paths, change those paths. So much more flexibility than pixels, but again, you get the best of both worlds in Photoshop and Illustrator with this new bristle brush technology. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about web graphics for a moment here. And before we do that, we're actually going to take a look at some shape building technology. So let's see if I want to do what I want to do first. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about the web graphics first, then we'll talk about shape building. So the next thing we want to do is pixel alignment is very important when you're going out to the web. It's not so critical in print because print is high resolution. It's more forgiving. So if we go to our view menu here and we go to masthead and we select this object, well, it looks great. However, let's turn on pixel preview. In other words, what would this look like on the web, which is all raster based, except for, flash or vector based animation. But for the most part, if we wanted to put this on the web as a graphic, it would be a raster graphic when we're done. So if we say pixel preview, here's the problem. If the vectors don't line up to a pixel grid, then you're going to get what's called anti-aliasing, where the line didn't quite fall in the pixel, so it's going to draw a little bit on one side of the line, a little bit on the other. So what we can do now is we can go into our transform panel, and inside the transform panel, now we can actually say align to pixel grid. In other words, shift it so that I don't get this problem, so I get nice, sharp web graphics. So with a single click, we were able to shift that to the align to the pixel grid. Now, I know what you're saying. Do I have to do that every single time? No, because now when you create a new document, if we go under advanced here, well, for a print document, there's nothing to worry about. However, if I say that this is going to be a web document, it automatically sets this to align new objects to the pixel grid. So for every new document you create in Illustrator from now on for the web, you'll be all set. You won't have to think about it. It's just something that will happen. So it's great to be able to have that happen for you on the fly. All right, so the next thing we'll do is we'll cancel out of that new document. We'll turn off our pixel grid, pixel preview, and we'll go under our view menu and we'll come down to the icons here. We're going to go to these icons and talk about shape building. Now, we've always had this great Pathfinder technology, and the Pathfinder technology is great when you want to combine multiple objects. So in other words, this was drawn as two separate or three separate objects to make it look like the spoon and the I guess the fork or the wrench and the whatever these are. And anyway, I want to go ahead and switch over to the Shape Builder tool. And think of this as Pathfinder on a tool. So I can just simply drag it between the multiple objects and it will automatically join them together and fill them with my new fill color. So that's now one object. Same thing here, I'll hold down the Command key temporarily to select it. And now that I have all of these multiple objects, the Shape Builder is detecting them. And I can even hold down my Shift key to get them all at the same time. And it will convert those all into one new shape as if I had drawn it that way or used Pathfinder manually. So it's great to have that on a tool. And it's a great tool to have that you can actually drag through your objects. All right, so next let's go ahead and take a look at some multiple artboard enhancements. In CS4, we gave you this great multiple artboard feature. And we've got multiple artboards here. I'm going to bring up the artboards panel. And the artboards panel is new, and it also lets me now go in and pick not only my artboards with my artboard tool, but the artboards themselves can be named. So for example, if I grab my artboard tool once again here, if I pick or click on an artboard and that artboard, for example, isn't named properly, it just says artboard 1. I can actually now go up and change that artboard name right here on the control panel. So I can call that one Future, for example. And that will be the name of that artboard that shows up in my artboard panel. I can also rearrange my artboards just by simply clicking the up and down arrows. And you're probably saying, well, that didn't really do anything, Terry. They're still in the same exact position. Well, you're basically setting this up for how you want your artboards to be. So if I pull it down, that's now artboard number 3. It puts the number 3 in front of it. If I pull it up, it's now artboard number 2. So I can dictate what order these artboards are going to be in. Once I've done that, then I can use the artboard flyout menu and I can rearrange the artboards in the order that I want, in the direction that I want. So they can be in any layout I want. I want a single column. I want the spacing to be 20 pixels and I want it to move the content as well. So once I click OK, my artboards are now rearranged based on the order that I put them in the artboard panel. So the artboard panel does serve a purpose. When you move them, it's for after the fact. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to talk about round tripping with our brand new product, Flash Catalyst. So Illustrator and Flash Catalyst work hand in hand together. And what it allows me to do, if I switch to the right document here, it will allow me to take Illustrator artwork and make it interactive, Illustrator or Photoshop. So in this case, we've got this Illustrator artwork with multiple banners that we want to create an interface for that switches between these banners. And if we go to our Layers panel, we can actually see the structure of this document. So there are buttons that are in a layer. There are the panels themselves. So for example, there's the feature panel that we're looking at now. If I turn that one off, I can turn on the design panel. And basically, I want to create an interface that will switch between all of these different things by clicking these navigation buttons. So how do I do that? Well, we go to Flash Catalyst. Flash Catalyst is new in the Design Premium Suite. It is also in all of the Premium Suites in the Master Collection, of course. And the beauty of it is Flash Catalyst allows me to start with a Photoshop or Illustrator file. So once I've created that mock-up, as we just did, I can say, you know what, I want to start this with an Illustrator file, and I want to tell it which one, so I just want to make sure I pick the interactive banner here. And now I'll say open, and it prompts me and says, oh, I know what this is. Do you want to keep all of this editable? And usually the defaults are pretty good. And it will build a Flash Catalyst project based on that Illustrator file. It will bring in all the layers. It will analyze the structure. It will basically give me Illustrator artwork inside of Flash Catalyst that I can then pick apart and create interactivity. And the best part is I'm creating this interactivity without having to write a single line of code. All right, so we've got this in place now. We've got our artwork here, and I now want to start converting some of this artwork into something usable and clickable. So we've got these side buttons here. It brought over the same exact layer structure that we had inside of Illustrator. And I've got this first set of buttons here, the right buttons, which is basically this background for the button and the button itself. And I'm just going to select both of those in the layers area. And I'm just going to bring up my heads-up display now, and I'm just going to say that I want to convert both of those into a button. So now I want to make that into something that someone can click on. Then I get the choice of how do I want that button to look. So I'll click the over state. So when someone hovers over the button, I want, here we'll grab our selection tool, I want the orange to turn white. So I'll just go to my properties there, and now for the up state, it's orange. For the over state, it is white. And then for the disabled state, I actually want to hide it. So when it's disabled, I don't want to see it at all. So we'll just go ahead and turn it off. So now I have it basically set for all of these objects in these states. It will do what I want it to do. Now we'll just back out of it. And we'll do the same exact thing for the one on the left-hand side. So we'll grab it from the layers panel. Actually, it's easier. So now we'll just say that we want to select the left one. Same thing. We'll select both pieces. We'll say that we want to create a button from them. And now that we've got this button, we want the over state for it. We want this object in the button to actually turn white when the person mouses over it. And last but not least, in the disabled state, we want that arrow to turn off. So we don't even want to see it in the disabled state. Okay, so now we've got, again, it's all there, ready to go. We got all our states, everything's ready. We'll go ahead and back out of this now. And now we want to wire these buttons up to do something. But before we can have them change pages, we actually have to have the other pages. So we're going to take this first page and duplicate the state, which basically gives us page 2. And now on page 2, we're going to do a couple of things. Remember, page 2 needs to switch to text as well. Luckily, that's all set up in these panels as layers. So we want to turn off the feature panel and turn on the design panel. So that's it. That was easy. So now we want it to switch between those panels when we go to page 2. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to also select this graphic here, and we want this graphic to move. Actually, here, let's go ahead and select, let's see, what do we want? We want the image slider. There we go. Yep, we want the image slider to move on page 2. So we'll just pick it up, and we'll just hold down our shift key to constrain it, and we'll just pick it up, and we want it to slide over, just like that. So we kind of want to create this animation, so when they click a button, it actually moves over from one page to the next. Now, we'll go ahead and select the buttons now, because now we can start telling the buttons what they need to do. So the right button should go to page 2, but only when I'm on page 1. So, because I'm going to have more pages later on. So I'm going to add an interaction for that right button that says, on click, play transition to state, go to page 2, but only when I'm on page 1. All right, next thing, we'll select the left, or we'll click OK, by the way. And we'll select the left button, and we'll do the same exact thing. So with that button selected, add an interaction, play transition to state, choose page 1, but only when I'm in page 2. That's when you go to page 1. All right, beautiful. Now, let's go back to page 1, because since page 1 is the beginning, there's something we don't need. We don't need the button itself to show. So we'll select the left button here and we'll say that it's disabled on page 1. So now we'll go back to page 2 and we'll do the same thing. We could make the right button disabled if this were all we were going to do, but again, it's probably going to go beyond that, but we'll disable it for now. All right, so last but not least is how smooth I want these transitions to play. I don't want it to just jump from page to page. So I go back in the timeline here where it's going from page 1 to page 2. It's going to fade everything out and move everything over and resize whatever it needs to resize. But right now it's going to do it instantly, as quickly as it can. I want to smooth out those transitions to where I click one button and it now does it over a half second. It kind of plays it back better. So when I hit play, that's the way it looks. Pretty cool. All right, so next we're going to go and do the same thing going backwards. We're going to say when we go from page 2 to page 1, we want to smooth the transition out. And now we hit play, and that's the way it looks. Awesome. So now I want to test all of this out in the browser. So we'll go ahead and hit Command Return or Control Enter on Windows, and that will build this out as a Flash file and then open it up in my browser so I can test my interactivity. And I got my rollover, I got my great transition, I got my great transition back. Awesome, this is working perfectly. And I'm able to do this inside of Flash Catalyst without writing a single line of code. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so now, when I select this object, I notice it's highlighted here, it's top background. If I drill down on, oh God, it's a lot of things. It's like dozens of little objects. And I want to change the color. Although, Flash Catalyst lets me do a lot of vector work here. In this case, it'd just be easier to do it in Illustrator because I can do it all as one. So I'll right click on this and we'll say Edit in Illustrator CS5. That's because Flash Catalyst works hand in hand with Illustrator. So we'll go ahead and say Edit in Illustrator. I can now select this as a group and we'll go to our Live Color option. And with Live Color, we'll double click on this first swatch. We'll just go ahead and pick a nice orange color to go with that. We'll click OK, and it will recolor our artwork. And the beauty of it is now I get nice simple instructions to return back to Flash Catalyst. I'm done. Yes, click OK, put it back in Flash Catalyst, and it's updating that item, and we're ready to go. Just that easily. So as you can see, working inside of, and by the way, yes, I'd want to make that the same on all the states. But anyway, as you can see, working inside of Flash Catalyst is easy for designers to create interactive content. It's also easy for Illustrator users that want a round trip between the two. Great, 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 awesome features to do this. Okay, so last but not least, we want to now go back to Illustrator, and I want someone to review this content, maybe this text or anything else I've created here. And so luckily we've got this great thing called CS Review. So it's part of the CS Live services. I'll go up to my window menu, go to my extensions, and we'll choose the CS Review panel to pull it out. And that should log me in to the CS Review services, where I get the ability to create a review directly inside of Illustrator, InDesign, or Photoshop, or participate in or add this to an existing review. So we kind of already started a review where we shared it with a couple people, and we've already gotten comments back. So I can actually select that review if I want and add this to it, or I can say that I want to create a brand new review of just this document. So I can have as many reviews as I want. So let's go ahead and create a brand new one of this interactive art banner. And what this will do is let me choose the number of artboards that we're going to choose or go with to review. We'll just do the one. And I also get the ability to view this online after it's uploaded. So we'll just go ahead and upload it. And what this will do is it's now talking with Acrobat.com. It's creating a snapshot of this banner in time, and it's uploading that snapshot to Acrobat to be shared in a web browser. Even if the person on the other end has nothing to do with Creative Suite, doesn't know what Creative Suite is, they will still be able to participate in your review. So, Acrobat.com, CS Review, these are all integrated services inside of CS5. So it's now loading this up. I'm going to go ahead and let it sign me in. Once it signs me in, we'll be able to take a look at our interactive banner, but I'm actually going to stop it here. I'm just going to back out of this for a second. And let's go to Acrobat.com because I want to kind of show you what's already here. So we've already got this local magazine in my workspace with all my documents. So it could be my PDFs, it could be my presentations, it could be anything I'm working on that Acrobat.com handles, including CS Review. So when I click on the review, it will actually take me to that review so I can actually look at my interactive banner. And it's loading up here inside the browser. Once that banner loads up in the browser, I'll actually be able to zoom in on it, which is great because the user can't really see it small. They can go ahead and zoom in. They can also share this with other users. So I can say share this with other individuals, type in their email addresses. Let's do Noha Edel at adobe.com. So we'll make her a co-author, and we'll just say that we want to take a look at this. And the beauty of it is it's sending this, and I can make her a co-author or a reviewer, but it's sending this directly from within Acrobat.com. I don't have to go in and figure out how to make this a part of my email program. It's doing it all for me right inside the service. Now, once she gets the email, she'll be able to click the link, log right into this, and participate in the review. So she can add comments to the entire part itself. So far, so good. She can also go in and click to talk about a particular spot. I would say clone this out. That's a Photoshop task, obviously. And then we can say that we want to click and say that that's okay. All right, so now the beauty of it is not only am I seeing the comments here, not only are all the participants seeing the comments, but if we pop back over to Illustrator now, those comments have been already brought down into my Illustrator program, into my CS Review panel, and I can look at them in context to the artwork that I'm currently working on to see what the person is saying, and I can reply back right here inside of Illustrator. And I can also flag things to do, and we'll leave a comment for that, will do. And we'll save that, and now when we head back over to CS Review inside the browser, that one reply is already there for anyone to see. So the beauty of this is that it's happening within the application you're already using, Photoshop, Illustrator, or InDesign. As you can see, these are extremely powerful new capabilities inside the new Illustrator CS5. It's been my pleasure to walk you through what's new. My name's Terry White. Thanks for watching.